All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to World Wrestling Tube. My name is Mike, and this is the WrestleMania 40 prediction show. We're going to be covering night one in this video. Night two will come in another video shortly after this one. But yeah, they say every single WrestleMania, this is the biggest one ever. This is the biggest one ever. But this time it actually feels like the biggest one ever. And it's not just because of night two, it's because of night one and what night one means to night two. So we are going to get into all of that, of course. We're going to start the bottom of the card of night one. I will just tell everybody, if you enjoy this comment, please click the like button. Please click the subscribe button. I'm going to be coming at you with premium live event predictions for all the WWE shows throughout the year. We will cover Raw. We will cover SmackDown. We will talk about the news. We'll have some fun along the way. And who knows, maybe we'll talk about some of the good old days in WWE. But these feel like great days right now, so let's get into it. We're not going to get to the tag team match to start. We're going to get to another tag team match, and that would be Rey Mysterio and Dragon Lee going up against Dominic Mysterio and Santos Escobar. I feel like this match was put together quickly as they, not to say that they forgot about it, but it was, how do we get Dominic Mysterio on this card? How do we get him on this card? Not just a side piece to Mommy, which we'll get to that match a little bit later. I'm sure there'll be some involvement there, but how do we go ahead and get him on this card? And maybe they didn't want to just go ahead and throw him up against Rey Mysterio one-on-one again. I probably would have enjoyed that more than this tag match, but here we are. The one thing I think is interesting is that when Dominic Mysterio and Santos Escobar were challenging Rey Mysterio in the ring, he had the LWO behind him. He could have picked any one of those guys. Heck, he could have picked Zelina Vega, but he didn't. He went with Dragon Lee, and you saw Carlito. There was a bit of a reaction there. So you have to wonder, does that bleed into this match? I think it would make it more interesting. I ultimately think here in this one, I think we're going to get a Dominic Mysterio win and a Santos Escobar win. I will say that this is going to lead up to a one-on-one match at Backlash between Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio. If there's any other fallout between Carlito and Santos Escobar, maybe that bleeds into that match at Backlash as well. But I think we're going to see both Mysterios battling it out here at some point. Maybe that leads to outside the ring. Maybe there's other interference involved, but I think all of this chaos and confusion is going to allow for Santos Escobar to get a cheap win over Dragon Lee, perhaps one of those quick roll-up pins with the feet on the rope. That's what I'm envisioning here for this matchup. I'm not sold on Dragon Lee yet. I know that WWE wants to push him. They want him to be something. I'm just not there yet. And who knows? Maybe he does some high-flying things in this one and gets me on board. But in terms of this match in particular, again, I'm going with Dominic Mysterio, and I'm going with Santos Escobar, who, by the way, listen, this match was put together quickly, but Santos does deserve this spot in limited television time. He's done good work as a heel. He's garnered a reaction. We'll see what he does with that moving forward, or we'll see how much he needs Rey Mysterio to be that heel. That's going to be all about some character progression from Santos Escobar, but that's my pick. We'll go into the next match. Jade Cargill, Naomi, and Bianca Belair going up against Damage Control. Right, there is no women's tag team championship match in this year's WrestleMania. I don't think that's the end of the world. I think that this match is, I said the other match was put together quickly. This match was put together quickly, at least we saw some back and forth between Naomi and Bianca Belair. First, Bianca was having some issues with Naomi supporting or wanting to help Bayley because she was with Damage Control and killed 2 years of Bianca Belair's life trying to challenge them week after week after week. Eventually, they come together. Then they're all getting jumped in the ring by Damage Control, and out comes Jade Cargill to save the day. I think we heard a lot about when Jade Cargill came over from AEW that they wanted to polish her up a bit. And I think that they obviously did that because she really didn't spend a ton of time on TV. She had the Royal Rumble, a couple backstage, segments, and then she shows up and officially signs a contract on SmackDown and then is thrust into WrestleMania. I like it. I think she'll put on a good show. I think they're going to limit her usage. They're going to want to give you little morsels, little sample sizes here. I think there's big things to come for Jade Cargill. But right now, this is a matchup where it's going to be Jade Cargill will get the pinfall. She will look dominant. She will have limited spots. Bianca Belair will be in there quite a bit. I think we're going to see one of those situations where it's Naomi getting beat up by Damage Control, and then she finally gets the tag, whether she tags in Bianca or whether she tags in Jade Cargill. But I think she's going to be, though, I think she's in the match to be the one to take that beating. Um, I also heard a little bit about Asuka having, she had tweaked her knee a bit on one of those SmackDowns. So maybe this match was put together to also kind of protect her. So we'll see what kind of how much involvement, how much ring time Asuka has in this one. But good spot for Damage Control, Dakota Kai, Kairi Sane. So we'll see how this ends up. I'm going to say Jade Cargill will get the pinfall. We'll see who she pins. The next match is the 6-pack ladder match, which is just sometimes this feels like, hey, this is a way to just get a bunch of people on the card, get them noticed, get them their payday. But we've got DIY, we've got Awesome Truth, we've got the New Day, we've got New Catch Republic, Austin Theory, Grayson Waller, A Town Down Under, and the Judgment Day are coming in as champions. We've heard Michael Cole allude to this a few times. This match will not end until both sets of titles are retrieved during this ladder match. That leads everybody to believe they are finally splitting up these titles, long overdue. Honestly, they should have split up these titles shortly after last year's WrestleMania when Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens won on night one of WrestleMania against the Usos. They should have found a way to split up the titles then. Whatever. Here we are. I'll take it. In terms of who's going to win this match, I mean, a lot of people talk about Awesome Truth. I wouldn't be against Awesome Truth winning, but I'm going to go with DIY here in their first WrestleMania. I think, listen, obviously, everybody knows the history of Triple H in NXT back when it was Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa putting on an absolute show. NXT takeover after NXT takeover, either as a team or against one another. I think Triple H wants to give them a little bit of love here. I'm going to say DIY wins one set of those titles. If I had to pick another team to win, I'm going to go with a heel team, and I'm going to go with one that you might not be expecting. The crowd might not love. One of those things where the crowd's going to go, oh, except for me. A-Town Down Under is going to win that other set of tag team titles. They'll bring those over to SmackDown. Listen, I think they've done great work together. I do think that their partnership, while we saw a little bit of it at Elimination Chamber, I do think that they're ultimately going to end in a situation in which they'll split up. One of those two is going to become a massive face. Massive, I mean, in terms of out of the tag team realms, out of irrelevancy, and probably put into a very solid spot in the mid card. If I had to pick right now, I think that would be Austin Theory. I just think that they need to take a long approach to doing that. I don't think it's going to be right away. So that's why I think if you give A Town Down Under, Austin Theory, and Grayson Waller the tag team titles now, it allows them to spread their wings on SmackDown, even more talking, even more programs with other guys, more spots to just showcase their personality. I think that's going to buy everybody in. And then we do that slow burn to the eventual split. So DIY gets the love from Triple H, A Town Down Under for some future programs. I'm going to go with those two picks. Up next for me is going to be brother against brother. We saw shades of this back in WrestleMania 10 with Bret and Owen Hart. We now see it, oddly enough, in the city of brotherly love with Jimmy and Jay Uso. I think this is a Jimmy Uso win here. I do. I know everybody's going to want to go the other way on this one, but I'm going to go with Jimmy Uso getting the victory, making the bloodline very happy. Now, I know Jey Uso is the popular one, and I absolutely get it. I get it. And I think that while I can't wait personally for them to be a tag team again, I do think that, listen, Jey Uso is going to have a lot of opportunity. Jey Uso doesn't need this win as much as Jimmy Uso does. And not to say, like, I mean, we're not going to see a ton of Jimmy Uso in some singles programs, but I think this is one of those swerves that WWE can throw us during the show. Everybody wants to cheer for the fan favorite Jey Uso. We know Little Wayne's involvement now. I think this is a very sneaky way for WWE to just remind you that, hey, we can break your heart at any moment, and maybe we do it on night two. I will say this: this match hasn't gotten a ton of attention, obviously, with everything going on with the Bloodline outside of the Usos. I think this match has the potential to steal the show on night one of WrestleMania, or at least for everybody to look back and say, listen, good card. Main event was great, but that match was something else. Kind of like last year with Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. I think it's got that potential. I mean, listen, you talk about they're twins. You talk about what they've done together as a tag team, how they've orchestrated matches, how they've ran things. Now they have an opportunity to work together and put a match together. I think it's going to be a lot better than people are thinking. And I think the only reason they're thinking that is because it hasn't gotten a ton of television time. Next up would be the Intercontinental Championship match. It's going to be Gunther going up against Sami Zayn. I'm going to be completely, wholeheartedly honest here. The moment Sami Zayn won that gauntlet match or whatever that was, that six-pack challenge, and Chad Gable lost, I immediately lost interest in this match. Yes, the vignette, I was at Barclays Center for Raw. It was funny, it was corny, but I guess that's what they were going for. I just want more for Chad Gable, honestly. I don't know where this is going to lead him to. I mean, do you turn him heel? I don't think you turn him heel. Why bother turning him heel and having him screw over Sami Zayn? Gunther doesn't need that. I mean, like they've done approaches with heels here where Roman Reigns always, time and time again, he gets outside interference help. Gunther doesn't always need that. Gunther could just do damage by himself. So, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say, even if Chad Gable was the guy, I thought Gunther is walking out of WrestleMania as the Intercontinental Champion. I do think that ultimately, by the time they get to Clash at the Castle and Bash at Berlin, we're going to start to see Gunther at that point, which is in the summer. We're going to see him start to get elevated to that main event picture, that heavyweight championship picture, perhaps. So I think Gunther walks out of WrestleMania as the Intercontinental Champion, but I don't think it'll be much longer after that until he drops the belt. Who knows? Maybe this ultimately leads to a triple threat match between Sami Zayn, Chad Gable, and Gunther. And maybe that is finally when one of those two swoops in and steals the victory. So, again, I just I feel like I wanted this for Chad Gable. I'm being petty. I mean, Sami Zayn, we talked about night one of WrestleMania last year, the main event. We did see Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. We saw all the whole last year with Sami Zayn being in the bloodline and getting all that television time. I just wanted something more for Chad Gable. Just kind of broke my heart a little bit, my wrestling heart. I mean, I was able to live my life, but I'm going to say again, Gunther wins this one. Yes, I'm petty, but I'm not petty with the pick. I honestly think Gunther is still going to roll as Intercontinental Champion. He will be dethroned at some point. Next, we're going to get into the Women's World Championship match. This one I am amped for. Like people say, hey, maybe Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch could steal the show. Like they're not going to steal the show because we know that they can put on a good match. No one's going to be surprised when the two of them put on a good match. And I think what was huge for this was obviously on Monday when Rhea Ripley was doing her little interview there, her podcast interview, and in came Becky Lynch. I think the conversations before that on the same podcast previously during the MMA hour when it was Becky Lynch on there talking about Rhea doing a stink face, then Rhea bringing up Becky's daughter. We started slow here because we started with a lot of Becky Lynch was battling Nia Jax and everything going on with Liv Morgan. And I will just say, Liv Morgan not being on this card makes me wonder if there's any sort of involvement here. I know I'm talking about a lot of involvement from a lot of different areas, but that's the beauty of this WrestleMania card. There are a lot of situations in which we could see some sort of involvement. So who knows? Maybe Liv Morgan comes down and hits one of them, makes her presence felt. I do think she's in this title picture once Backlash comes around. But in terms of this right here, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to say Rhea Ripley retains. I think that, listen, WWE has done this thing lately. I will admit I'm starting to get a little bit tired of it, starting to get a little bit exhausted by them keeping the titles on people for so long. Obviously with Roman Reigns, but still, even beyond that, Gunther, even though I think he's a credible champion, he's great. It gets a little tiresome when they hold on to the titles that long. So I would like to see this end at some point, but I'm gonna say Rhea Ripley does get the victory over Becky Lynch. I don't think Becky Lynch needs this as much as Rhea does. Obviously, Becky has had a much longer career than Rhea at this point, much more established. Not to say that Rhea's like, we don't know who she is. I just think this is Rhea's time. This is Rhea's time to be the figurehead until Charlotte returns. And I think Becky will take her best-selling book and she'll be happy and she won't need a reason to get back into that title picture. Again, the other thing with Backlash, I mentioned it a few times, we're probably going to see a ton of WrestleMania rematches. That is the way. But I think this is going to be a, 20, 25-minute match. I mean, I think that was right in the range of what Charlotte and Rhea got last year in their title match. They absolutely stole the show on night one. This won't be a steal, though, because we're going to see this one coming and we're going to enjoy the heck out of it. But I'm going to say Rhea Ripley retains. By the way, absolutely badass that she got tattooed at WWE World. I will just remind everybody before we get into the final match in this card. I know I flashed on the screen a couple times. Please click the like button. Please subscribe. We're going to be doing premium live event predictions for WWE throughout the year. We're going to be doing some SmackDown reactions, some Raw reactions, and WWE news reaction. But we will now get in to the main event of night one of WrestleMania. That is the Bloodline. That is The Rock. That is Roman Reigns. And that is Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. I'll say this about this match. I mean, for as much intrigue, for as exciting as this match is, we kind of know where this is going, right? Like, let's be honest with one another. We can ham and haw, go back and forth, predict who's going to win which match. But this match just feels like it's an obvious because WWE has continuously stacked the deck against Cody Rhodes. We obviously had that very memorable beatdown by The Rock in Chicago. Then we had Monday night in Brooklyn, where again, he was whipped with the belt again. So too was Seth Rollins. I just think they want to. We'll get to my night two predictions, but I think that ultimately WWE wants to continue on this path of stacking the deck so hard against Cody Rhodes. This is the most obvious thing. It's going to be a Rock and Roman Reigns victory. Now, the only question here is, which we've wondered about, there have been certain things where The Rock, when he acknowledged a tribal chief, put the hand up, there was the L there. What did that mean? Then last night on Jimmy Fallon, The Rock saying that there can only be one. It's been making people wonder, will The Rock screw over Roman Reigns? Then there's a lot of other people wondering, will Seth Rollins screw over Cody Rhodes? I don't think that happens on night one. I do think we're going to see some character development with Seth Rollins, which we'll get to in night two of the predictions. I think that we could see both teams, though, have a bit of conflict, whether it's who's going for the pinfall, who's doing this, who's doing, maybe one of them bumps into the other one, something to that effect. We're going to start to see some dissension within the ranks on both teams. We're going to see some conflict. But I think if I have to go here, I'm going to say Seth Rollins is going to take the pinfall. I think we're going to see The Rock pinning Seth Rollins. I think that, again, well, I think Seth Rollins is taking the pinfall because, again, I'm spoiling some of night two, but I think we're going to see Seth Rollins have, on the biggest weekend of his entire career, have the worst weekend of his entire career in terms of loss. So, yeah, I know I'm spoiling some stuff for night two, but I think that's where that's leaning. So I think we're going to see Roman Reigns and The Rock win. We're going to see a Rock pin, and maybe that's it. Maybe it's The Rock being glorious in victory and almost overshadowing Roman Reigns, and the egos involved. Maybe that's where we start to see some split between that bloodline. I think we all know, whether it's WrestleMania 41, whether it's going to be the SummerSlam, whether it's going to be another big pay-per-view, we're going to see Roman Reigns and The Rock get after it. Cody Rhodes will be involved in this match. I think we're gonna see some near pinfalls between Cody Rhodes almost pinning Roman Reigns to kind of put the seed there, and maybe even show Roman Reigns have some internal thought there, flash the camera on him like, crap, like he might have my number. But listen, they're going into night two with bloodline and rules. They would not specify all that stipulation to just not do it at all. So this is the most, while it's the most exciting match on night one, it's the most obvious one. It's going to be a Rock and Roman Reigns victory. But that's going to do it for night one of our WWE WrestleMania 40 prediction show. I will tell you guys again, please please subscribe to this content. We're going to be coming at you. We're coming at you real soon tomorrow with our night two predictions. So until next time, stay thirsty, be kind to one another. We'll catch you on the flip side. Cheers.